What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So you clearly see the title of the broadcast. And yes, we also have Anton in the broadcast room tonight, and he's going to be breaking some things down. So this young lady here that you see on the screen with Anton is going to be talking about how freaked out this generation of people are. And it also will coincide with the way that the marriages are going, things like that, with this new age generation, relationships, and other things. So we're going to go here now. We're going to check this out. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
I got something to say. Okay. I think literally, I really think this generation is just doomed. And I'm gonna tell you why I think this generation is doomed. You got women out here thinking just because if a man don't have with you as he acts with you, he don't want you, he unattractive, he a punk, and yeah. When all reality, God forbid that man want to see if he actually attracted to you, or if he actually likes you, or if he really want to fuck with you that way. Now I'm a woman that, I used to think the same way when I was younger, that, oh my God, if he don't do this or he don't do that, he don't like me. But as I grew older, and like I said, my now relationship, he had taught me so many things. He had taught me so many things as far as like discipline in our relationship, right?
Here we go. Let's keep going.
Discipline in ways that, like I told y'all before, when we first got together, we haven't had sex then. We haven't had sex at all, y'all. And it's like 6 months. Okay? 5 months of being together, 6 months of knowing each other. But 6 months all in all. But yes, and I was explaining to the guys or whatever, and they're like, ain't no way I could be in that position, and I da 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 da.
Her biggest mistake, let me tell you what her biggest mistake is right now, because she's partly right, and I'm gonna give you some insight. But right now, her biggest mistake is that she's talking too much about what she's doing, and if she's giving it up with a person that she's genuinely learned to like and develop a relationship with, and other people are going to nag her out, and other people are going to have an impact on how she sees the guy that actually likes her. This is actually the way that it's supposed to go before women slut it out, or before they go over to college and give themselves over to anybody and everybody and live their best life, and then try to come back and try to make it work when they get done getting bust out or slutted out, right? This is the way it's supposed to work. You are supposed to genuinely like the person, and you are not supposed to be available for everybody. You can't switch it up when a person that, really, really loves and likes you, or when you then get a little bit older and then say, you know what, I'm going to be celibate and I'm going to wait on my king after I done gave my best goods or my best life to everybody else.
Right. And this is the thing here that we need to understand. In previous times in history, and I get it, this is old fashioned and this and that. You could make up all the excuses that you want to, but the way that things are going out here in today's society and the information that we have, far as the internet, the lust factor that's been built up in our society, it's an overwhelming amount of lust that we deal with, in today's society with a lot of things. You got to be strong in prayer. But this is the thing here, though. This young lady, I definitely agree with, what Anton's saying. This young lady here is telling something that she ought not need to tell. But at the same time, though, too, without this situation that she's been in and telling her story, it kind of adds up to what's going on here. We are out here in today's society, overstimulated as humankinds. We have all the you know, the nightlife footage, you know, porn, whatever you want to call it, things like that. And, you know, everybody watches it to a degree or have seen it to a degree. So, you know, it does changes your psyche when you know, engage in that type of activity and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, too, you know, what's being said from this young lady is that you know, when men actually, you know what I'm saying, don't engage in trying to get with you immediately, now it's an issue. It seems like it's an issue that a man actually has some type of standards or some type of, you know, decorum to himself, and he wants to actually, you know, vet you properly to see if you can, you know, be in his life and stuff like that. Not all men out here are worried about getting in the bed with you immediately. And some women in today's society tend to, you know, want to shame men because they're used to certain men due to their vicinity, how they grew up, things like that. And I get that too. You know, it's certain aspects in life that both men and women have been going through in today's society to where they are have been subjugated to certain things and they're used to it. And it's like, you know, for some women, it's like if a dude is not trying to actually get you in bed immediately, you know, some women look at that shit as like, you know, okay, he must got issues, intimate issues, or he has a problem or something. And it's like, no, that's not the case. You know, some men just don't want treacherous women in their lives. And once you get engaged intimately, you know, with a woman, and also too, once a woman get engaged intimately with a man, that changes the dynamic and stuff like that. It's things that fluids and all types of crazy stuff that gets exchanged while you're having, you know, sex with each other. And it's nowhere around these factors. But we also in today's society try to escape these dynamics, and everybody would just think that they can just sleep around and it's just, you know, no type of ties that you have with the person that you slept with. It's ridiculous.
When a person really rocks with you, they rock with you on a platonic level, on an emotional level. They genuinely want the best for you.
Right.
But most of our young girls and most of the women that we interact with on a regular basis, they can't tell you or they can't show you that side of them because they've already been slutted out. And that was one of the problems with feminism, with the body positivity movement, with, you know, my body, my choice, with sexual liberation, is that women were taught to devalue themselves so that, you know, they could just start to trauma bond, or for whatever reason they thought that they was going to get something positive out of it. When in reality, the only thing that they got is a bunch of STIs, STDs, and they ruined themselves for their potential husband because their husband now.
TikTok ads changed everything.
And that's just the truth. You know, most people in their early years, you know, do meet the people that you technically are supposed to be with, but, you know, due to the lack of training in modern society and stuff like that, you know, family dynamics, things, the culture, basically, really the culture overall is, you know, kind of, you know, skewed to the fact of marriage, longevity, things like that, how to build families properly. It's been, you know, kind of messed up to a degree. When young people are young, they think that they need to go out and do certain things and experience certain parts of life. But at the same time, though, too, some things you don't need to experience in life. It will alter your state of mind if you experience certain things. If you do certain things in life, it will alter your thought process to a degree. And these are just facts, you know. Definitely within, you know, relationships, if you go out and engage in certain activity, male or female, and it's going to alter your thought process. So it's going to be harder to deal with a person that may not be, you know, experienced in certain things and stuff like that. But also too, it's an old school saying, you know, um, I get the old school saying ignorance is bliss. And I'm just going to start at that point. Sometime it is. Certain things you should be ignorant of. And it also is a protection mechanism that, allows you to not be, privy to certain things. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to get educated, college, or whether, just life in general. But it is certain things on this planet that you need to be ignorant of to keep you in a certain mindset. Just being honest here. So you can, thrive and be prosperous in certain ways. Definitely in relationships. We're truly over sexualized in this country. Media, the timeline, stuff like that. You see on the internet, it's crazy out here, definitely for men and women. And this is also some of the problems that we're having with relationships, because we're seeing too much and we're getting too much information, right or wrong. It just is what it is here. Let's keep going.
A husband has now reduced them to an object and a sexual object only. They didn't look at them, or they no longer look at them as valuable as they were supposed to be. And so instead of being okay with rejecting the majority of people that made advances of you just for the sexual aspect of who you are, you then made yourself easily available to everybody based off of just being a sexual object. And then you expect somebody else or somebody to value you differently when you can't even see yourself any differently. And so you expect for every guy to only look at you that way. We are supposed to be connected on a platonic level, and then the sex comes after. As a matter of fact,
right. That's how God built us, period. We're not supposed to be engaging in all this over sexualized activity, and this is where we at here. This is the reason why in the 21st century, marriages are not the way that they used to be. Families are not being built as properly as they used to be, and things like that. It's a lot of information that we ought not need to be engaging in, or ought not need to know. Definitely, sexually here. Like I said, we're over sexualized in this country. And that's also stopping a lot of relationships, information that, that the partner that's probably for you and things like, well, let me cut that partner shit out, because that's crazy. The wife or the husband that's supposed to be for you is, they may not be engaging in certain activities. And if you have engaged in certain activities, then that person that you probably would be equally yoked with that hasn't engaged in that, you're not going to find that exciting, which the problem is the overwhelming of excitement that you need to be engaging in today's society. It's overwhelming. And that's the reason why a lot of relationships are not working how they supposed to really work traditionally, because it's too much information that sexually, and it's just not going to work.
I would make the argument that when you are emotionally invested in and connected with a person, the sex is much more explosive, awesome. It is something to be experienced instead of something to just do. And again, her biggest problem right now is that she's trying to convince other guys that only see her or only see women from a sexual perspective. And let me add a little bit of a caveat here before I play the rest of the video. Since the beginning of time, there always has been haves and have-nots. There has always been the women that you just look at just for an experience, the hoes versus the housewives.
Right.
But nowadays, we can't separate the two because we have grouped them all together. And justifiably so, they've grouped themselves together. And then they expect for us to see them differently, how they project themselves.
Right. And that's always been a huge issue. And where in the 21st century is a huge issue. It hasn't been a huge issue throughout the history of this planet. We used to have women that would shame those women and keep those women in place. Now, the thing of this is that we've come to today's society through a lot of, conditioning and rewiring of the culture, definitely over here in America, things like that, but amongst men and women and things. That's the reason why we have all these dudes out here that's sitting around here crying and shit, and we got women out here that's sitting around here masculine as hell beating up men. It just is what it is here. But the thing of this is that the retransformation of the human psyche over here in America through all these programs, entities, and all the other stuff has allowed this situation to go on. That's the reason my families are not, applicable in today's society like they used to be. But yeah, it just is what it is here. And we cannot negate these facts, because the thing of this is that, some of these women are looking at men to where, if they're solid thinking men and stuff like that, and they're trying to plan for their future, and they're engaging with women and they're trying to vet them women properly, nowadays it's looked upon from some women that if you're a man that's not trying to immediately jump into bed with them, they look at you as soft, weak, gay, all types of shit. It just is what it is here. And these are the facts.
That's not the way that reality is now. So when a guy is not tripping over you sexually,
right,
it's not that he's a sucker. It's not any of that. It's really because he probably just really likes you and he ain't even checking for that.
Right.
And sometimes he really likes you and there's other chicks that's out there that may be the bust downs or whatever, and he's really evaluating giving up that lifestyle so that he can be connected with you and ultimately make you his wife. So
boom, there we go. And this is the truth. It's an evaluation of the separation. You see, this is the issue here in today's society. The majority of men still have a separation of women. We still have that separation. The women that are for the streets, we still know that they're for the streets because we can know how they move. It's a difference in the movement between women that want to be wives and women that are for the street. It's a huge difference. Huge difference. And the women that are for the streets, we clearly see what's going on. But in today's society, it's like, everything just been jumbled together, just been put together. And, all these women are trying to be like, well, we all wives. And it's like, no, that's impossible because the history of humanity doesn't even speak to that. Even in the Bible, it's a difference. It's a separation in the women, this can't be negated at all. It's always been a separation, just like it's a separation amongst men, and we have to deal with the tyrants and the dude from Germany and, things like that. You get what I'm saying? It's a difference in men as well. So, it's no way around these facts. And this is the reason why we're having so many issues, because we're trying to blend all this stuff together, oil and water in a blender, and it's never going to blend together. Oil and water would never mix. I don't care how hard you try to blend it.
So, a lot of women really don't understand that. They never had fathers in their lives. They've been influenced by social media, but this is the landscape that we live in as men.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter.
Jesus, they're giving me some good commercials here. Sorry, but they're not. Let's keep going.
I'm sorry for y'all, but this generation is doomed. Like we have men out there that think that if they not cracking, if they not hitting nothing, a lot of people be like, test drive the car before you buy it. No, Pookie, but yes, that's true for a fucking car, but we are fucking humans, okay? Don't compare me to that shit. All in all, I'm just here to say that women, just because he don't have with you and he want to wait, does not mean he don't want you. And men, same thing. If she wants you to wait, she wants you to wait for a reason. And it's not even a waiting game. It's just when sex is involved, shit is confusing. When it's not involved, me and my boyfriend is able to solve our problem just like that. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Now, I'm not saying that sex influences decision-making, kind of, sort of. But I'm just saying, like, this generation is overly freaked out. Like, y'all just too freaked out for me. And as I grow older, I just really, just realize that sex is not that important to me. Getting to know a person is way more important. Actually knowing who the fuck you're dealing with is a big thing. if we're talking about moving in together and stuff like that, I need to know more than just what Long John can do. You feel me?
Listen, look, I'm gonna tell you something too. You know, growing up in a family where I had, not had, but I have solid thinking women, have had solid thinking women my whole life. I get what she just said. Listen, look, man, you know, the solid thinking women, and see, this is the separation of the two with, you know what I'm saying, solid thinking men. Also, we know the difference between, you know, the night chick and the chick that's actually, you know, for marriage, with the lady that's for marriage. Listen, look, man, it is a difference. It is a huge difference out here in the thinking. And for a lady that actually wants to build, have family, stuff like that, it's a huge difference in the thinking. But the lines have been so blurred in today's society within the dating aspect, definitely for both for men and women, to where we're ending up with decent people having to deal with some trash and stuff like that. But then, no, too, the bitterness does kick in to a degree because you've been dealing with so much craziness for so long to a degree. But it's up to you to actually get over certain things too as well. You know, finding out new information, making sure that you carry yourself properly and maneuver and try to do different things. Let's keep going here.
So I just feel like, all in all, my advice to y'all is get to know somebody. You ain't gotta be partners every day and night. Like, you don't. If you do, cool. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's different strokes for different folks. It's just my relationship. We just decided to wait. It's no time limit. Nobody put anybody on a time limit. We just going with the flow. And when it happens, it happens. But we not freaked out to the point where it's just like, I gotta have it. Y'all need Jesus. Y'all need Jesus.
Yeah, a lot of it also is what we consume. It's what we influence by, is that people are so overly integrated into porn, and you know, their friends are doing it and their friends are convincing them that they need to do it and all of this stuff. And so I understand the overly freaked out generation because, you know, it's easily accessible on your phone.
Right.
It's easy to find somebody. It's normalized to send pics and you know what I'm saying, text them back and forth with pics immediately instead of actually, you know, genuinely being interested in the person. And so she's right. She's right to a larger extent. Her only problem is that she's sharing too much information about whether or not somebody is or isn't busting her down. You know, she got to be careful with that. But, you know, it is overly freaked out, and people don't even know how to have real, you know, in life, in-person experiences anymore because, you know, without something happening, they don't even know how to communicate. Let me know.
Right. It is what it is. Shout out to Anton. These are the facts here. These are the facts, you know, that we are living in a society nowadays to where we are overly sexualized. We overly promiscuous. You know what I'm saying? Listen, look, I'm not exclude myself either from the way that we've grown up in this new age and stuff like that. It just is what it is here. And the thing of this is yes, we no longer have the separation of the people like we used to. You know, women are not holding women accountable anymore. You know what I'm saying? Men are not overwhelmingly holding men accountable anymore to a degree. I'm sorry, but I got to tell the truth here. This is ridiculous out here in these streets. And, you know, and definitely, I would say that men are trying a little bit more to hold other men accountable. But, you know, some of these men out here are just, you know, not going to, you know, comply, period, you know, which they need to. That's a whole nother topic. We'll talk about that in another broadcast. But no, it just is what it is here, man. We have a huge issue here of our overstimulation in society. And yes, that's keeping a lot of us from finding people that we are equally yoked with. And that's a huge problem. Huge problem. And also, to tell the truth about it, this is something that's been in place before a lot of us were even born. These are situations that are adding up to what we're dealing with now. You know, I'm not going to say it's not our fault, but at the same time, though, too, as we have access to information and stuff like that, which, you know, rapidly, we need to gain the information to do better and change things. Because, you know, yeah, like I said, a lot of this stuff has already been in place to equal up to where we at now. Definitely with, you know, we can't have proper families anymore, things like that. You know, it's a struggle between men and women now, you know, with, you know, also the feminism and everybody, you know, blaming the patriarchy, you know, men not doing this no more and women not doing that no more, things like that. It's a whole debacle of untrust and, you know, making, you know, trying to make sure that everybody is protecting themselves in a selfish way and things like that. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And this is the reason why, you know, families are not properly being built anymore. And it's a huge issue. But yeah, though, definitely we're in a situation here to where, you know, we need to figure this out as humanity, because if we don't, you know, we will perish if we don't properly reproduce and have the families to teach children, offspring and stuff like that, how to be decent human beings and run the planet properly. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.